Hello, I'm David Mitchell. I'm a researcher who has been involved in several projects associated with the mailroom. I've been asked by the mailroom to develop resources aimed at raising awareness of three issues that affect males in our society. Issues that affect males in ways that are generally hidden from common knowledge, yet persist in resulting in hugely negative outcomes for the men themselves and also in their relationships with others in their lives. The areas covered in this series being fathering, family violence, and male victims of child sexual abuse. These initiatives have been resourced through the Nelson City Council's community investment grants. The effects of child sexual abuse commonly persist and worsen in adulthood. This brief presentation overviews how child sexual abuse in males is understood, the myths and misinformation that persists in society, and how these experiences differ from those of females. It should firstly be pointed out that awareness of and support of male victims of early childhood sexual abuse lags 20 years behind those aimed at female victims, if it exists at all, that is. This is really a conservative estimate, as it could be argued that awareness is effectively non-existent today. Considerable differences exist in the incident rates of child sexual abuse, but generally the figures between the genders are as seen on this slide. However, it should be understood that these figures vary widely depending upon such things as the definition, or how child sexual abuse is defined. Definitions can range from anal penetrative sex to genital touch to exposure to pornography. It can also vary widely on parameters such as data collection methods, the geographical location where the data is collected, by this is meant the country where the analysis is taking place. Further, the age of the victims. Is there a difference in experience and effect of child sexual abuse between infants, children, and adolescents? While aimed at adults, this observation from the United States adds an interesting perspective to the discussion and the debate on sexual abuse generally. As you look through this slide, please note that a large percentage of men are said to adjust and move on with their lives. In some ways, this statement seems difficult to understand, but it is certainly present in the international literature regarding child sexual abuse in men. However, for others, really it should be said for those that actually survive, as suicide is not an uncommon response to child sexual abuse. Their lives are beset with a range of serious mental, relational, and criminal issues. These effects are presented here in isolation, but mostly they should be seen as compounded and interrelated. One particularly important point is that regardless of the difficulties faced in adulthood, victims frequently do not make the connection between issues that they are currently experiencing in their lives and the original abuse. In some ways, this lack of connection is understandable, but what an isolated and confusing existence this must create for these men. While the previous slide detailed international literature, at a local level a research project was completed through the University of Otago in 2015. The researchers interviewed a number of adult male victims of child sexual abuse. The findings from this research project conducted by Patterson and her colleagues are detailed below. The findings, while similar to the previous slide, add a further, more personal dimension to the experience of victims. The previous slides detailed a range of effects of child sexual abuse, and these are really very similar for both male and female victims. However, there are a number of significant differences in these experiences and effects between the genders. Regarding the first statement below, while there is a small correlation between child sexual abuse and adult male perpetrators, this correlation is extremely low. The second statement here is just totally incorrect and should be disregarded.
The third statement can be understood where a victim of abuse experiences an erection due to stimulation of the prostate gland through anal penetration. The fourth statement reflects a commonly held societal belief. The next time you hear of a female perpetrator of child sexual abuse, especially with an adolescent male, when you hear about this in the media, take note of the language used. Ask yourself, would a similar perspective be taken if the gender roles were reversed? While these statements reflect the findings from individual studies, they are supported through a large number of studies international. These studies report a very, very consistent finding. Again, these findings presented on this slide are repeated consistently in the international literature. The probability of prolonged suffering should be seen in parallel with the second statement here. Not only is disclosure delayed, if a male victim does attempt to disclose their abuse, due to a complete lack of education in managing these situations with males, there is frequently disbelief and minimisation of the victim's experiences. Given this scenario, it is unlikely the person will attempt disclosure again. This presentation has been aimed at raising awareness of child sexual abuse in male victims and the effects of this experience that persist into adulthood. However, effective and sustained change can only take place after a deliberate and well-organised campaign that takes into account each of the 5 areas detailed on this slide. Awareness raising by itself will fail to ensure sustained change. Research-based evidence by itself will also fail, as will the other areas when they're attempted in isolation from the others. While the 2 images shown at the beginning of this presentation may have evoked a strong sense of victimhood in young people, this final image portrays how the original experience is still immediate with many adult victims. If not consciously, it's present most certainly in the silence and the trauma and the shattered lives that continue as a result. We need to do better.
If you want any further information, either as a professional working with males or as an individual seeking support for yourself or for family whānau members, please contact Philip Chapman at the Mailroom. Mailroom offers one-on-one and group support, as well as recommended referrals from men in areas such as separation coaching, family violence, especially those served with police safety orders, sexual abuse and sexual addictions. There is no charge for these services. Mailroom also offers seminars, speakers, presentations and research advice and expertise. Please don't hesitate to call us.